Welcome to Fireteam Chat, IGN's Destiny show. Thank you for joining us. Today, we have Sean Finnegan.
Hello.
And CJ Gibson on the show.
How goes it?
And we're going to be discussing Challenge Mode, Iron Banner, and we're going to go back to Trials of Osiris for a bit because we had some people who called in. If you want to call in, you can call in at speakpipe.com/fireteamchat. And we get a few. I'm just trying it out, seeing how it's going. And
cool.
We got some great messages this week. So.
We did. And actually, thank you very much for submitting those. We'll get to them later in the show. But this is actually really cool. I think it's going to go over very well. I'm excited.
Yeah. So let's start. Challenge mode for the raid. Stealth dropped during the week. It was just like, hey, challenge mode is live.
Yeah, I remember we were sitting out there in the pit, and Brian Malkowitz looks over at me and he goes, "Did you know challenge mode's active right now?" And I was like, "Really, right now?" And he goes, "Yeah." Like he had just been browsing, and Reddit was like on top of it, and so
which is funny. We were discussing whether or not it would have dropped at hard mode initially, and it didn't. And that was kind of odd. It's another like, oh sure, into the weeks here it comes eventually. But
it was just kind of stealth dropped. Next Tuesday, it's going to be Axis.
Yeah,
so there's only 2 challenge modes in this new raid. So the new challenge mode, if you want to go in blind, just skip ahead 2 minutes. It's going to take me a little bit to explain. So starting now, I'm going to go. So what's the first boss's name again? Vosik. That's right. I was blanking for a second.
Vosik.
You have to hit him with the bombs like you always do. You have to drop the monitors like you always do. But those 2 bombs that drop during damage phase, don't use them on the boss for damage phase 1 and damage phase 2 when you go through it all again, drop a shield and go to damage him. You have to use them with 2 players who go into separate rooms. You have to go in each room, and you have to close the door with the bomb.
Yes.
You have to do that for damage phase 1, damage phase 2. Damage phase 3, you need to drop the boss, so you can use those, just throw them at the boss and drop him. But that is basically challenge mode. We don't know what Axis is yet, but we will find out next week. The thing about challenge mode that was weird is it was stealth dropped.
Yeah, there's no announcement.
Super surprising. What do you think of it? Is this good? Is it cool? I like the extra gear.
Yeah, the extra gear thing was nice, which I think that
you
was
also
the main
get
reason that
you get the ornaments for raid gear too.
Right, yeah. But I mean, the challenge itself was pretty basic. Like, it wasn't one of these things where you're going like, oh man, it changes the mechanic drastically. Mm-hmm. You already have to like go in yourself and cleanse the room, and it makes it easier. It's like, hey, throw the bomb, boom. Cleaning room activated. Way simpler.
Yeah.
It's kind of different.
It's kind of been a long-running thing with Bungie with the challenge modes, right? Like, even throughout the Taken Kings raid, like in King's Fall, like the challenge mode didn't drastically change any of the mechanics all that much, except for maybe Golgoroth. Golgoroth was the one where... Is that his name, Golgoroth?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I always get the ogres confused.
The gazes.
Like where, everyone had to hold the gaze or...
Yeah.
Is that how it works? Yeah, everyone had to hold the gaze at one point in order for you to be able
each damage phase.
Yeah, and like that took a little bit of coordination, and best it kind of involved the whole team.
Yep.
Yes.
But like all the other ones were, I don't even know when we went into the War Priest, who I affectionately call the Warpiest, because I originally read it like that.
Yeah. Because you can't read.
Yeah, his was that.
Yeah, I walked in and I glanced at his name just real quickly, and I was like, the Warpiest? That's a weird name.
It's odd.
But like that didn't even change the mechanic. Like we did the challenge mode without even knowing that we had done the challenge mode because like it didn't change the mechanics at all. And I kind of get the sense that this is. I hope that that's not how the rest of these encounters go.
Well, I'm sure Axis is going to be a little bit harder. I mean, already everybody's kind of involved. Like, imagine if it's the same mechanic. Everybody has to throw 1 ball at the boss during every damage phase. Mm-hmm. That would suck because you have that cooldown on Scorch Cannons. Mm-hmm. We'll see what it is.
Challenge mode, no weapons.
Yeah.
Melee only.
Somebody's done that with grenades.
I think the other thing, too, though, it's harder to get some of those earlier Taken King drops. And so challenge mode is like, oh, finally, I could get this loot. And it was super hard to get. So, I mean, I think I, for the longest time, couldn't get a Defiance of Yasmin at all until challenge mode. Mm-hmm. This time.
The sniper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I've managed to get all the gear now from the raid, so I'm not really worried about that. It's just infusion fuel for me at this point.
Yep.
And honestly, all my gear is kind of where I want it to be.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I'm really striving to get to max light level. I've mainly been running my Hunter. I guess my alts, I could get them to 400 also, but I'm kind of done with everything.
You're at that point.
Yeah.
I think with challenge mode the last
Welcome
time.
to the next year
I
of
know,
Destiny.
Exactly.
That's what's
how
scary.
Long. Yeah, challenge mode last time when it came out, it was something cool because the boss mechanics were already difficult in Taken King.
Yeah.
Now it's like the boss mechanics were fairly easy. This is a new thing, but not new, just kind of like rehashed.
Yeah, you and I were actually talking about this last week before I went on assignment. But like mechanically overall, this raid is like significantly easier than the King's Fall raid.
I like it.
It's
to me that they've done a good job with the mechanics.
Yes.
I don't think that they did a bad job. I think it's good, but it's certainly more execution oriented as opposed to mechanics oriented. Like
you either drop the ball, literally.
No. It's really like what you have to do is pretty simple. It's whether or not you can do it or not, right? Like if you have to toss the ball and you miss, well, you just missed, right?
Yeah.
And that happens from time to time, or it gets blocked, like that happens. Yeah. Like you know how you kind of throw the ball and your character jumps up, so he'll glide a little bit. So if you're moving, like you'll glide into a wall and the ball will hit the wall or something like that.
Or
so
if,
it's just
or if
more
you're going to
execution
dunk
focused.
and miss.
Yeah, you jump too high or something like that, or you,
Yeah.
you glide right by. But like
Warlocks. Ugh.
I was kind of hoping that maybe we'd see a little bit more mechanics oriented challenges with the challenge mode specifically, but you know.
Yeah, me too.
We still have some way to go.
To me, I think the raid, the fact that you think it's mechanically easier, I wonder if it's just designed better than the other ones. Like maybe they were in a little bit of a rush, so they couldn't refine the Golgoroth mechanics to make it so everybody had to pull gaze once. I don't know, though. It's pretty polished. It's got a great entrance for Golgoroth and for most of the characters.
Oh, for King's Fall, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if they just had more time with this or they made it shorter so they're able to focus more on each of the segments. But I really like Wrath of the Machine, and I've said that before.
I do too. I like it. I mean, we've talked about the raid extensively at this point. I like the raid just fine. It's now that we've had some time to kind of like get out of it. I don't know that it ranks as high as. I mean, it ranks higher than Crota's End for me.
There's Vault,
but below
Crota's
Vault
End.
and below King's Fall, I think, just because of the scale and the scope. You know, like I love experiences in Destiny that make me feel like I'm doing something big and awesome, and that I'm a key part of like this galactic conflict. And I just didn't really get that sense with Siva and Axis. Like there was all this speculation that it was going to be Rasputin you fight, or like some version of Siva-fied Rasputin, which I thought, man, wouldn't that have been cool? Because like it adds to the lore that we've been dealing with since the beginning of Destiny. But it's kind of struck me as a missed opportunity there.
You like the idea of killing a kid, his dad, and the dad's sisters, right? You like that a little more?
What? What are you talking about?
That's Dark Below and Oryx.
Yeah.
Oh well, you know.
Or you kill Oryx, you kill his sisters, you kill his son.
Yeah, exactly. Need to keep it in the family. But that was the thing. I think I said that at the beginning too. You do feel disconnected from this enemy per se.
Yeah.
He's just kind of there, and like Oryx, even in the story, it led up to this big boss battle where you kind of fought him. In the earlier part of the campaign. Now it's just a different version of him. And
well, you'd even heard Oryx's name spoken before King's Fall came out, which is cool because like now there's like, you have that Western sensibility where it's like you kind of know about this guy based on his reputation before you see him or before you find him. That's cool, man. It makes it feel big. Yeah. Where it's like no one in the world would have guessed Axis, right? Because there's not a hint of him. Yeah, I know. And really, that's the answer. Like that's the question, right? Like you go, who? Well, the answer to that question is just another big fallen captain who got Siva-fied. Yeah. What is Siva? Some tech that we don't really understand.
The first time I played against them, I was just like, so this guy was like, yeah, go ahead, saw my body in half. That seems like a good idea.
Make it work.
Spider legs.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I get spider legs? All right.
Still fun. I think it's one of those things. It's, again, Destiny. It was coming, to a, not a halt, but this was the last piece of the puzzle. And so now after this, it's one of those things where you're like waiting for the next thing. I know you guys chatted about Festival of Lost this week as well. It's another one of those things where Festival of Lost was really exciting and cool when it first came out, and now it just feels like, okay, it's the same thing again. And that, to me, I think that's the difference. Maybe it's obviously got some tweaks, maybe for better or worse. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, challenge mode is new for the raid, but not new as like a concept.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing the raid did really well that I just wanted to point out is I love the weapons. Now I have all the weapons as well.
Yeah. Good.
Like I finally got the pulse.
Yeah.
I love the pulse. I love that fourth burst that fourth shot on the Haka. Like that stuff's so cool to me.
Yeah.
I didn't really like the King's Fall weapons. I don't think anyone really liked the King's Fall weapons.
Sniper's decent.
I like Yasmin.
Yeah, defensive Yasmin.
Yasmin
Just because
good.
it fires so
Machine
fast.
gun's really good.
Machine guns
because of the auto reload.
Well, also
Golems.
because of the stability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Golems and Yasmin were probably the best thing from
everything else.
King's Fall.
I kind of like the Scout because it had full auto, but now I have a full auto from Iron Banner, which we're going to move on to here in a second.
Yeah. I mean, like, full auto is nice because I'm lazy, but
Yeah.
like at the same time, it's just like there's no way that Scout's better than Hung Jury, you know, which I've been using basically.
It's your go-to.
Up until the new weapons came from the raid, which now I use the raid Scout a lot, Chaos Dogma, which is so good, dude.
That.
So good. Have you guys used it?
No, not much.
The Scout, yes.
The raid Scout. It's
it's good for
Omelon
PvE.
one.
Good for
Oh,
PvE.
well, yeah, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. It's a raid weapon, right? But yeah, like on targets that don't move all that much, or where you can just consistently land precision shot after precision shot.
Yeah.
Solid.
With a 16 round mag, you
You're
can
so
get
excited about the mag.
45 shots. It's so good, dude.
Yeah. I remember you talking about this around the office. You're like, oh, if you do the math, you can get this many shots on with a full
Oh, we
clip.
did it. We counted.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Me and Brian are like big advocates of that.
Nice.
And that's just
definitely
something we
cool.
didn't really have with the raid weapons in King's Fall.
Yeah. Moving on, Iron Banner is making a return. It'll be back next Tuesday.
Hooray.
The gear this week will be a chest piece and legs. Weapons will be the machine gun, Silver Dread, and the Pulse Clever Dragon. That Pulse,
So
man,
good,
it's
dude.
really good.
Yeah.
It wrecks
So
me constantly.
Yeah.
I get
So-
hit by
So
that
it
all
only
the
has
time in PvP.
one downside, which is the mag size. Like if you're firing at someone,
well, unless you get a good roll.
Yeah.
there's a roll that I thought all the Iron Banner weapons had the same perks this time around,
Yeah,
or like
that's-
maybe with the
that's
exception of like one
No,
or two.
that's
The
Trials.
perks are all randomized. That's trials,
Yeah.
dude.
really okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the one at the vendor might be different than one you get at the
So the
drop.
vendor has set rolls, but you can randomly get them as drops in game, and they have different variations on the stats.
Okay, so I have a Clever Dragon that it is my go-to pulse rifle for PvP.
Yeah.
And I use it all the time. And I think I have to look exactly what my roll is, but it's pretty good. And man, like it wrecks, dude.
Yeah.
It fires so fast. Like it sounds like if you didn't know that it was a pulse rifle and you just heard someone firing it, you might think it was like an SMG.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
fires so fast.
Or dentist equipment, as Destin says.
Yeah.
That's the-
Just on the reload. Ugh.
Yeah. The one downside, at least that I can see, is that like oftentimes, and this may be something that is addressed with other people's roles, but like if I'm firing at someone and then someone else pops out, I don't have enough bullets to take both of them down.
Right.
Like I'll run out before I can kill the
Oh, you
second
got to
guy.
reload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That speed reload perk.
Got to
on
use
your,
that
gauntlets.
sidearm.
Yeah. I don't use the sidearm though.
Yeah,
I don't
that
like
might be
that.
a good switch
trust
up
that.
for your
Shotguns.
loadout.
Yeah, there
yeah.
it is.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's again like I love side. I have a trespasser and I tried it out. I was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
Trespasser's dope.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty
especially
solid.
if you can, man. If you really get on that roll of like landing the second like super powerful
Yeah.
long burst, like it wrecks.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Well, I mean, pulse rifle seems to be the new PvP weapon. Like they're really good. Like blind perdition, that's the trials one. I love that weapon.
I have one, but I don't really like it.
No? Oh yeah, it fires really fast. It feels pretty.
I mean, it's
snappy.
pretty strong.
You talking about from Trials?
I just
Yeah.
don't think it's better than Clever Dragon.
Yeah.
Is
No,
that
and that's the thing.
the
I don't
pulse?
have clever. Yeah, that's lighthouse.
It
pulse.
is one of the best pulses in the game.
I think so. Yeah.
With the rate of fire on the Clever Dragon, though, I think you could drop somebody with Clever Dragon before that one.
Yeah.
I'd have to dig in the stats and numbers, though. I'm not
Everybody's been
positive.
saying that Clever Dragon, is a better weapon overall. I don't have one yet, so I mean, I'm just excited to get a chance to play Trial or Iron Banner next week to get whatever the vendor role
Yeah.
is, and at least be able to compare the two to see the feeling, which I like better. But
I did get the Scout from Trials of Osiris, and apparently it can one-shot Shanks, but I accidentally infused my 8-up version into my non-8-up version instead of vice versa, and I was like, no.
How do you pronounce it? Adept.
Adept.
yeah,
Adept?
yeah. I mean, I was playing with somebody in the raid last night too, where they're like, I was like, "What are you using?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that is solid. It's just one-shotting a Shank," and I'm sitting there going, I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta get that Scout.
Yeah, it's really
So,
good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So are you guys excited about Iron Banner? I hope that they elaborate on Effort Eat's story a little bit more than, hey, I'm Effort Eat, I'm back.
Yeah.
You're
All
waiting
right,
for the new cut.
go over there
Yeah,
again.
the new
I don't-
cutscene that
I don't think
banishes
we're gonna
her
get
to a
it.
different area. And
Yeah.
the love story soap opera continues.
Yeah,
I doubt that will happen.
Yeah, I do also.
I'm on
It's
your side, man. I think that would be way more interesting if we got a little bit more of her backstory because, like
each week.
she comes back and like in the initial cutscene when she comes back, the very first time Iron Banner came around in this expansion, it's like, what's his bucket? Lord Saladin knows her and is like,
Hey, sup?
Yeah.
She's like,
like-
sup?
yeah.
That's it.
yeah. But it's like they clearly have a history. She knows about like who the Iron Lords were and are, and
we
like,
don't.
all that stuff. Yeah, we kind of don't.
Waiting for that.
And it'd be kind of cool to like figure out like where she was during all that stuff, or if she like was involved, or I don't know. I'm big on storytelling, and I don't know. How many times do I have to say it on this podcast? Like,
we're all just tired of making the same complaints. Like better storytelling.
yeah, like I hate
more
it.
about.
I hate having to say it all the time, but like I feel if I don't, people will forget that it's something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, it's you could research in depth with the Grimoire, but it would be nice to see those kind of things in the game for sure, where you do see a cutscene like that and explains it to you, and it's part of the game.
There was an article from the Activision earnings call where they did talk about Destiny 2. I forgot to write it down on our show notes, but they said like they want to make Destiny 2 more accessible to everyone, to bring back vanilla players and players of the current game and get them back into the universe. And they are working to make it a better product overall. Address the story.
I also think that
that's how you get all those people in. You make an awesome story and not just people talking at you story.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the great things about the Destiny community now is that like mostly it's hardcore people, because like you kind of have to be hardcore about this game, right? Because what you mainly talk about is
leveling.
Leveling,
gameplay.
Gear, like the kind of stuff that hardcore players, theory crafting, like average DPS. Like you could walk out, even for us, you could walk out into the editorial pit at a company full of
nobody knows.
Yeah, at a company full of gamers and talk about DPS, and they really won't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Jose's still into it. He plays every now and then.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like in general, right?
But
it's a pretty hardcore thing. But like how you rally a bigger community is by a big shared experience around the world and the story and the characters, which I think Destiny does really well when they do it. They just haven't really done it all that much. They really did it once in the Taken King.
Yeah,
with Destiny,
and it was awesome.
Somebody who talks about DPS fantastically is Datto. He's been doing all those videos about
DPS
the weapons
tests.
I'm just like, oh, these are so interesting.
Very valuable, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. And
I'm
those
glad
guys
someone
are friends
does
of the
them
show.
so that I don't have to do
just watch.
I just like someone telling me this does higher DPS if you do
Well,
that.
I mean, there's so many weapons in the game. That's always the thing that surprised me the most. Like, I'm amazed that
comprehensive testing is hard.
How do you benchmark against what? And from year 1 to 2 to 2 to 3, and the implementations of different mechanics in each. I mean, again, I lament about my Plan C, but a lot of those things, like, they change over time, so it's hard.
The other thing is
believe it or not, we're not allowed to just play Destiny for a week straight at IGN, so it'd be a little tricky for us to do those DPS.
I also love like the caveats that you make when you talk about theory crafting. It's like, yes, this weapon may do higher DPS, right? But you have to talk about damage per second means damage per second. So it's like if you're not doing damage for every one of those seconds, then maybe that weapon's not the most effective. Or if you're dead, you can't do DPS, so that it's also not effective, right? Like there's all kinds of little caveats, right? Like burst damage might be more effective on some things than like damage per second, like a weapon that has high DPS if you're not shooting the whole time. I don't know, there's all kinds of little cool things that like players who are really mechanics focused and like RPG focused find really interesting about Destiny. But like there's this big promise about Destiny 2, which I think was actually revealed on this earning call, that like it may be coming to PC.
I don't believe so. I don't believe that was. They
like,
wouldn't have confirmed that.
Not confirmed, but I think that's where the rumor was started. Was
like,
people
would
I mean,
like
the conference call was yesterday, so no.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it wasn't that conference call though. But we all saw that Kotaku article, right?
It's been rumored for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I think his name is Jason Schreier, right? He's been pretty on point with his predictions about Destiny.
He has
his
sources.
Inside sources, yeah. And like the rumor is that if it comes to PC, that it may be coming to PC, and if it does, we may very well see like very much more deeper and bigger game.
Let's actually change gears back to Trials of Osiris. Sorry to cut off your thought there, Sean. But I definitely want to get everybody's calls in. People called into speakpipe.com with their thoughts on Trials of Osiris. And CJ has a very technical setup here, a laptop with the files on them.
Let's go.
And he's going to play them. So let's first listen together let's start with Brad.
All right.
Go ahead and hit play, and then we'll give our comments. Thank you, Brad, for calling in.
It's interesting that you guys mentioned that you weren't able to get to the Lighthouse this week, but you were the previous weeks. This is exactly the same as what it was in the beginning of year 2, because the bottom-tier Trials players stop playing as they realize they're wasting their time. And this will happen every week until you're only left with the hardcore players competing to carry others to the Lighthouse. The wins-based matchmaking Bungie introduced in Years 2 is pushing players into other activities where their time is rewarded better. And the bounties, which now require round wins to get a single piece of gear, which isn't even Year 3, is not helping. Now, this is coming from someone who's in the top 10% of most playlists in Year 2, and it has made to the Lighthouse several times.
All right. So that was from Brad. Sean, you wrote down notes furiously during the call. What did you write?
Yeah, I just have some counterpoints. Like, I don't think anyone is against the idea of skill-based matchmaking. I just think, like, I don't know that it is so well implemented in a thing like Trials because of the way Trials is presented, right? Which is like, Trials is the championship, right? It's meant for the best of the best, like, and it's hard. It's the hardest thing to do to get there, right? And I think that something is diminished if you kind of create skill brackets whereby terrible players only have to play against terrible players and still get the same rewards as the players who are playing at the top of their game. And you're still all getting to the Lighthouse. I just don't think that that's the way it should work. I do, however, agree with the idea that wins-based matchmaking in Trials doesn't exactly work in players' favors a lot of the time. And that's what I was talking about last week, or on that specific episode to which he's referring, is like, I go to the Lighthouse most weeks, but some weeks I'll jump on when my team is doing it, and we'll run into a team that's just better than us, and we can't beat them.
Yeah.
And that's luck of the draw. I think that's how it should be.
Well, the issue is, though, Sean, that's happening more and more because the player base is thinning, and the people that are left over are the hardcore. So you're only running into some of the best players in the world, and there needs to be a system of some sort that allows you to have an opportunity.
So my question is, why does there need to be that system?
Because otherwise, you're only going to be playing against the NBA players. You're never going to be able to play against anybody else, and you're never going to be as good as an NBA player. I don't care how much you play basketball. I'm never going to make it into the NBA.
But do you yeah, okay, point taken, but do you deserve to be in the NBA?
No, but this is a video game.
So you don't deserve to go to the Lighthouse. If you're not good enough, you don't deserve it. Like, that's my whole point. Is like, I totally agree with you. I actually think that anyone should be able to jump into Trials and have a good time. But I think you can do that.
So you're saying, wait.
Like, it's not preventing you from
hold
playing.
up. With that is BS logic, because with that logic, only 150 people are allowed to play Trials of Osiris.
No, but you're equating...
Nope, that's total BS. This is a game for 10 million players, and 150 of them are not the only people allowed to go to the Lighthouse.
Okay, but one, it's not that low of a number, and then
it would be that low with the logic that, no, I don't deserve to go to the NBA, but there are millions of people that play basketball, and they should still be able to play games with their friends.
But they can. You can do that. You can jump into Trials with your friends or with anyone and play and have a good time, and you can earn all of the rewards. It's this mentality that the Lighthouse, the Adept weapons, are this thing that I deserve. I don't buy that. No one deserves it.
Tell you what, you put together a team of 9 with people in the office, right? Or whatever basketball team is. I don't know sports. And I'll put together my team.
People.
I'll put my team of 5. I'll put my team of 5 together, consisting of the best NBA players in the world, and let's see who wins a basketball game.
What is this going to prove?
Me and 4 back. It doesn't prove anything, and that's what's happening in Trials. I'm getting carried by 2 of the best players in the world, and nobody stands a freaking chance.
So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying, okay.
That's the problem with Trials.
I think there's a better solution to fixing the problem where players can't get to the Lighthouse when they maybe potentially are good enough to. And I think the way to do it, and people have brought this up on the show, or they tweeted at me, is like, once you get to the Lighthouse, you
are pitted against those people.
You only play against Lighthouse players.
That I like a lot.
That I do too, because that makes it so that people who made it to the Lighthouse, one, it's you can't really carry people to the Lighthouse. 2, if you make it to the Lighthouse, then you're removed from the queue, and now it is easier to play against players who are still making it to the Lighthouse. But if you are one of those players who didn't make it immediately, and then you do later on in the weekend or whatever, you're still beating the best people. That's the thing. Is like,
so here,
I think in order to wear the championship ring, you have to beat the best team. And I don't think that skill-based matchmaking exactly works that way, because then you're going to have brackets of people who are still getting to the Lighthouse who don't have the skill, who wouldn't have made it to the Lighthouse had they played against a team that was better than them.
You look at a game like StarCraft, you look at Counter-Strike, and they have tiers of players, like rankings or whatever, like with different pools of players. And it's just like, I think that system is the best. You may not agree. But I mean, like, I'm never going to be an NBA player, and I'm never going to be as good as a 3,000 ELO player.
Okay.
I'll never get there.
I don't disagree about StarCraft and Counter-Strike, but I also think those are different games.
They are different games, but there's nothing else to compare it to, and the matchmaking in place right now in Destiny doesn't work well enough.
I agree with you.
It's almost there.
I think that I'm not arguing, and again, just to be super clear, I'm not arguing that the matchmaking in Trials is perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not yet 100% convinced that skill-based matchmaking is the way to fix that. That's all.
Well, so real quick, skill-based, are you for skill-based or against it? Because that's a huge other conversation.
In Trials, I'm against it because I don't think that it would actually work.
Because a lot
of everything else, I think.
Because a lot of people within the context of Destiny do not like skill-based matchmaking on account of connection issues. Lag, delay, all these other things. It's a huge problem. And so just from that standpoint, there was a lot of things I think were really well implemented in year 2. The way the bounties work, maybe they need to drop new gear, but the whole getting 5 and 7 wins last time was largely abolished in favor of this new bounty system, which is a lot better.
It is better. The bounties are much better.
Is definitely a lot better. So just because we were talking about Trials, and again, I've played 5 days, 14 hours. So 61 times the Lighthouse. Majority of those were year 1. Year 2,
you play regular.
20. Yeah, maybe 20 times. But it's way different because those last rounds are glitchy rounds, and that sucks. And it happens a lot, and people drop out, and standbying and connection issues, and that's what sucks. Is that's the last 2 or 3 rounds of Trials all the time.
And your argument is that skill-based matchmaking might make those issues more apparent.
Exactly. And from that issue, that's the thing that really sucks, is when they implemented that new code to automatically put you against those harder players, there's this wall sometimes where it's just like 9 is the match, and it sucks that you wasted that much time.
Yeah. CJ, we're running out of time. Let's go to Road Dogg really quick.
All right. Queued up. All right, here we go.
So last episode, Sean said nobody deserves Lighthouse, nobody deserves to go flawless. But at the same time, the top players don't have to play people on their level. So winning 7 matches against a team that isn't as good as you isn't really impressive. Whereas if you had to win 7 matches against someone who actually has a chance at winning, that's really impressive no matter what your skill level is. So in practice, you say nobody deserves a Lighthouse, but in the current setup without any kind of skill ranking, you're kind of saying, well, if me, or specifically in John's case, if my 2 teammates are at the top of the rankings, I pretty much deserve it, and saying that we should play against teams that are just as good as us isn't fair. I don't think you're going to have a huge flood of unskilled teams going to the Lighthouse because they still have to beat at least 7 other teams that are about as good as them. And at the lower ranks, it'll be easier to get good matches going because the population is a lot higher. I just think that it's really easy to misinterpret or misrepresent the actual argument here and act like people who want skill matchmaking want free Lighthouse trips, when really right now it's the top who's getting babied.
All right, so Sean, that was addressed to you.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and respond first?
So I don't think anyone's misinterpreting anything except for that what Trials of Osiris isn't like the thing is skill-based matchmaking works when you take one team and you fight against another team for a win of that one match. But that's not what Trials is. Trials is about Trials is a mountain. Like you have to climb to the top, right, over a series of matches.
But you're not climbing. It's like, okay, you're going up a five flight of stairs, and then it's like, all right, jump over this mountain.
But so I was going to say, in practice, the idea is that it's supposed to be like a mountain.
You climb,
the more wins you get, the greater chance you have of fighting teams who have similar wins, right? So in theory, you're all climbing to the top of the mountain. The closer you get, the less people there are, because the less people you have, that many wins, and then it gets harder and harder as you go to the top, right? And the last match, theoretically, should be the hardest. What's this guy's name? Is this Road Dogg?
This is Road Dogg.
What I think Road Dogg is misunderstanding about what I'm saying personally is that the game that I think Trials of Osiris should be is based around that top level. Like, I think that if you're going to make something really, really hard and exclusive, then it has to be hard and exclusive for everyone.
You're right.
And that just not for it. It shouldn't be tailored for people in their skill levels.
If I'm a 1200 elo player and I fight 1500 elo players, that's still going to be difficult for me to get to the lighthouse. But I believe that would be possible. A 1200 elo player fighting a 3000 elo player is not possible. Like, that's pro level skill. You're not going to be able to compete against that. And that's the concern that I have. The 3000 people should be in the 3000 tier. I'm in the 1000 to 2000 tier, and that's the players I should be playing against.
So, you know what's funny is as you guys are talking about it and just thinking about all those things, like, I will say this. I like Trials on account of just what the game mode is. It's basically like elimination.
It's still one of my favorite multiplayer modes.
Yeah, it's a great mode. Yeah. From that standpoint, I can't remember ever playing another mode in the last 5 years for games like PvP style that I enjoy. The rezzing, the 9 wins, all that stuff. It's super fun.
Yeah, Mr. 61 wins.
That's right.
Well, 7 over here.
That's right. 61 flawless. And that's the thing. I played a lot of those just for fun, regardless of winning or losing. But it does sound like you guys are talking about the solution maybe skill level brackets for Trials, because you like the game Trials.
Oh, I love it.
It's fun. I mean, and that's the reason why I like playing it as well. But imagine if there was a, like there was a tier that you went in. Now, again, you could see the problems with that, you pub stomping people. But if it had a variable where it only allowed you to enter based on your ELO ranking, and it was something that was done in game, because we're all using Trials report and stuff, but the ELO rating is not in the game. What if your ELO rating was in the game, you saw it visibly, and then it allowed you to basically like enter in, but it did not allow you, if you were above 1600, to go into like the 1000 to 1500 ELO rating.
So
hold your thought just a second, because we are limited on time. Let's listen to the last caller and then give our final thoughts on the topic.
This is
Oh, go ahead.
Well, it's because we have specific things to address. That'd be
go ahead. What
difficult.
would you like to address then?
Well, just like if you implement the ELO thing for Trials, it seems like a lot of people are going to be gaming the system. Then you artificially drive your ELO down until you get all the rewards. So you purposely play against people who you are going to destroy. You're masking your ELO rating.
But if it's tiered in the same kind of way, where if the ELO ratings at a certain point had like 1000 to 1500 or 1500 to 2000, and I don't know,
you're saying people would purposely tank their ELO to fight worse players?
Absolutely, that would happen.
But if the gear was
different, game becomes about
if the gear was different per each ELO level.
See, that's even more of a slippery slope, because then you're encouraging. Then it's even more like, oh, well, I'm not good enough to get the better gear. Only the better gear is reserved for the better players.
But right now, ELO's kind of hidden, so it's within the context of knowing with these, third-party apps.
But you'll know based on like if you look at someone's weapon and it's clearly better than your same weapon.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that is what Trials is in a way.
I'm just saying like I'm not arguing for or against skill-based matchmaking, because I think that you should, for the most part, be playing against people who are suited to where you're playing in Crucible and stuff. But when you take Trials, which I think has been purposely designed since the very beginning to be for the best, then there is no excuse that you can't get to the top of the mountain if you're not the best. Yeah. Now, to go back to what he said specifically, which is that the problem is that the top of the mountain just sits at that top of the mountain all the time.
And then people come up there and they just smack them aside and they're like, get out of here.
The only way to get to the top of the mountain is to get someone on the top of the mountain to help you up there. That is a problem, and that I don't exactly know how you address, except for maybe, like we said, once you get to the lighthouse, you are now in your own bracket, and you can't really carry people, and you only compete against people who've been there.
What if there were like 3 mountains? And you got to a different mountain for your skill level.
Appeasing the masses. All right, always an easy thing.
Yeah, last caller,
Last caller, SDF River. Let's get best for last. All that stuff.
What's up, guys? This is SDF River of the Guardian 1 podcast. Huge fan of the show. Really appreciate all the things that you guys do for the Destiny community. You guys were talking about Trials of Osiris. One of the ideas that I had, obviously we need dedicated servers, but the effect of dedicated servers would be to kind of curb back the connection-based matchmaking that we have, because it would improve our connections if we had dedicated servers, and then we can ramp up the skill-based matchmaking part. That way you're more likely to get matched up with folks who are on your skill level. That helps tremendously. One of the other ideas that I had was the idea of locking out people from Trials of Osiris once they reach the lighthouse. You could still go to the lighthouse on each character, 1, 2, 3, but then you wouldn't be able to go back again, and you would still be able to access the social space, of course. And if you really wanted to play Elimination that bad, you could go to the regular Crucible and play Elimination there. But that way, those top-tier players, once they're there, you already got your rewards. Let's give these other guys a chance so that they can get matched up with people more of their skill. It's just something that I was thinking about. Let me know your thoughts. Appreciate you. See ya.
So
just
wait. You got to talk first every time. I just want to say one thing. Dedicated servers for any high-level skill multiplayer game, I don't think it's crazy to say should be basically a necessity.
No, yeah, and you're right there. But what I wanted to really point out really quick is that this is the type of level-headed response that I like to hear, because like he said, it's probably the way to fix it is not one thing or another. It's likely a mix of all these things, right? And like the point that I want to point out that he brought up, which is really, really smart, is like if you do dedicated servers plus skill-based matchmaking, then you really put yourself in a position to take all those problems away. Yeah. So like that's a really smart suggestion.
Yep,
definitely. Also, great podcast over there. Thank you for listening and also calling in and asking a great question and providing us with your good ideas.
Yeah, hit so many bullets. I was gonna say nails in the head. I'm not sure what the analogy was.
Bullets work. That's talking trials.
But that's
not the expression is you hit the nail on the head.
Oh, exactly. Ghost bullets. That's a different problem. But yeah, there's so many things in there that I think are the right idea, and that's the thing. And right now, with that not being really an issue, or that being an issue and not something that's going to be fixed until Destiny 2 comes out, I think that's the hope. Dedicated servers, Destiny 2. Hopefully, that's the case. But, we'll see. So
if it's coming to PC, I definitely think you'll see dedicated servers. The other thing that I thought was really one of the things that I'm not so on board with what River said over there is that I do think that you should still be able to play Trials if you hit the Lighthouse, just because it's fun.
Yeah.
Like
you're not locked out.
Yeah, I'm not sold entirely on the idea of once you hit the Lighthouse, you can't do the Lighthouse anymore, and if you want to play that mode, you got to play Elimination. I'm not entirely sold there. I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, me too.
But I think that what if you make it to the Lighthouse and then your friends want to play Trials? You just can't because you're locked out.
Well, it does eliminate the whole carrying thing though, which is a big piece of the puzzle. Where from the standpoint of people taking other people,
this is true.
I like the idea of 3 mountains, and at the top of each mountain is just as beautiful as the next. Maybe the view's a little brighter on the best, like it's golden. But you get the same cool reward at the top.
I'm going to quote a line from a Disney movie here, The Incredibles. When everybody's super, no one will be. Which is, and that's the thing. I get what you're saying, Sean.
Did you just quote the villain of The Incredibles?
But that's what he's saying. He's like, he's all hurt that he doesn't have superpowers because he's a normal dude. And the irony is,
but you know who else has no superpowers?
Right?
Batman. You don't need superpowers.
Still love him.
So CJ's a supervillain. Sean doesn't want anybody to have fun, and I'm trying to solve for everybody to have a good time.
Creating peace within the galaxy of Destiny. I don't know. But and that's the thing. There's a lot of solutions for this problem, and they're not easy. So
I guess you really just have to ask yourself, are you having less fun because you can't go 9-0?
Yep. Because you get madder at your friends when they make one little mistake. It's less fun.
Hey, I was gonna say
it's not just me.
If you're getting
the rage gift,
if you're getting all of the same rewards or most of the same rewards, and you're still playing, it's not like. I'm not arguing that you shouldn't be able to play Trials. Everyone can play a Trials. I just don't think everyone should be able to win the NBA championship.
Being locked out of Trials for the weekend wouldn't be wouldn't be fun.
Just because I go and play pickup basketball every once in a
while,
Sean, doesn't mean I should be able to walk into Staples Center and be like, "Hey, Kobe," even though he's retired now, D'Angelo Russell, let's ball because you and I are. And I don't buy that argument.
Anyways, it's funny. I can see your frustration level just in general going here comes the 8-0 again. Crushing.
You played with me.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. I still enjoy that mode for what it is. To me, the weird part about all the matches that I played in Trials, the losses stick with you way more than the wins.
Yeah, definitely.
That's very true.
Just and because of that, that's the reason why I love it. I play Trials on the weekend because it's a timed thing. It's you're playing with your good friends or people who carry you really well. We know who we're talking about, and it's
Steve.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it is one of those things where. If it wasn't for those things, I don't think this game mode would be as popular as it is.
Definitely.
So it creates a whole bunch of challenges and a whole bunch of problems because you do want that gear, you do want the reward, but I don't think it would feel that way if you didn't have all those problems.
Got it. Guys, we have to wrap it up because the camera's actually blinking at us, telling us it's time to wrap it up, which means we have just a minute
left. Almost out
left.
of card space, yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for calling in. That was speakpipe.com/Fireteam Chat if you want to call in with some subjects that you would like us to discuss. But until next time, Guardians out.